Thank you all very much for joining me for our final webinar of 2025, which is our East Africa itinerary. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. This webinar is being recorded. We'll upload it to our YouTube channel towards the end of the week for you to catch up on it there or share with your teams. And we'll also send out all of the information that you need to sell the following clients in a newsletter towards the end of the week also. There will also be some time at the end for questions. So if anything comes to mind throughout the presentation or at the end, please do pop it into the Q&A box, and I'll be able to answer it then. So yes, to round off the year, we wanted to focus on some itinerary focused webinars. We did a Southern Africa itinerary last week. So please do catch up on that if you haven't seen it already. And this week we are bringing you our East Africa itinerary. So our East Africa itinerary focuses on our clients in Kenya and finishes at Zanzibar White Sand on Paje Beach. So starting off in Nairobi, we're going to be looking at House of Waine. Moving then to the Mara, we are going to look at Naibor in the National Reserve, and then Offbeat Ndoto mainly in the Mara North Conservancy. Moving up to Laikipia, then we'll focus on Lewa Wilderness, and then finishing off in Zanzibar. We have run this itinerary as a fam trip in the past 2 years and have always got really great agent feedback as well about how well the properties work together and the different areas. So we'll speak a bit more about that as well throughout the presentation. So starting off in Nairobi, we have House of Waine. So House of Waine is a family-run boutique hotel located in Karen, and a really beautiful space, particularly for families and children. And I suppose anyone that wants to enjoy Nairobi and explore Nairobi. And I always say to agents that, if your clients can stay in Nairobi, it really is worth it, as there is so much to see and do here. So House of Waine itself is an 11-bedroom property. We also have a 2-bedroom boutique cottage towards the back of the property, which can be used as an exclusive use space. Beautiful gardens that surround the property. So again, a really nice space for families and for children. And what is great about the hotel as well is that we are close to everything that people want to see and do in Nairobi. And I'll speak a bit more about those activities. But this is just an idea of what the bedrooms are like. Really beautiful design. They all have individual designs, reflecting a different theme. Each look onto the gardens, and they have big windows let in lots of light. So really very beautiful. And then we also have our Malachi suite. So this is great if you have longer stays. You just have that bit more space in this suite. And this is an example of our 2-bedroom cottage. So again, great for an exclusive use space. We have a double and then a smaller single room also, but you can see in the image here, you also have your dining area and lounge. And just to look at some of the activities that are nearby us, the Sheltered Animal Orphanage is a really popular one for our guests. We're also very close to Giraffe Centre, which is only about 10 minutes away, the Karen Blixen Museum, the Karen Golf Club. So really so much to see and do in Nairobi. And as I said, if guests can, or if your clients can stay in Nairobi for a day, pre or post safari, it really is worth it. It's a really up and coming food scene as well. Lots of beautiful restaurants. My colleague and I, Alice, we recently visited Cultiva, which is this really beautiful kind of bohemian farm to fork restaurant. So yeah, lots to see and do here. House of Waine have also introduced a new low season rate. That is $565 in double occupancy, and that will be throughout the year outside of their high season. So I will send out those new rates in the follow-up also. And then moving then to the Masai Mara, the National Reserve is Naibor. So Naibor is a very traditional tented camp, and its main USP is its location. We are in a prime location within the reserve. And one of our other USPs is our high season. It's very short. It only runs from mid-July to mid-September. So it means that guests can have a really fantastic wildlife viewing experience, particularly, during those migration months at really good value. So I always like to include this map in as well as it showcases our location and also the kind of the movement of the migration. So you can see here that we're right in the heart of the reserve, and the migration tends to arrive around um, mid-July, stays with us right through to kind of mid-October. And whilst you can never, predict these things, we are an excellent location, very close to crossing points and some smaller crossing points that are nearby our camp. You can see that we are on a bend in the Talak River here. So again, just a really beautiful location. In terms of access from Nairobi, there are daily flights from Wilson Airport. Our closest airship is Ol Kiombo, and that flight time is about 45 minutes, and then a 30-minute transfer then to camp, which is very much a game drive. There is the option to drive. We do often get guests who drive down to the reserve, and then will join us at Naibor and use our game package. But that drive is 5 to 6 hours. Um, so just to kind of give you a layout of the camp, it's essentially divided into three areas. We have main Naibor, which is 7 tents stretched along the river. Little Naibor, which are our family tents, and then Naibor Wilderness, which is almost best described as a camp within a camp. So this can be used for exclusive use bookings, but of course we can take individual bookings here also. So the design itself is a very traditional tented camp. It's unfenced, so you're very much immersed in the wildlife. As I said, we're on the Tahalik River and it's a really beautiful location, the perfect armchair safari. We have a resident pod of hippo. Ellies come down to drink from the bank here very often. There's always crocs on the sandbanks. So just you're very much immersed in the nature here. Dining, amazing food. One of the owners of Naibor also owns a talisman restaurant in Nairobi, which is quite famous. So all of our chefs are trained together, so you can guarantee excellent food at Naibor. The dining setup itself is private in the evenings, but we do a lovely buffet lunch as well. And then just looking at the tents, these are our main Naibor tents. And so as I said, we have 7 of these which are stretched across the river. So each looks onto the Talak River and out over the plains. The tents themselves are very big. You can also see here the daybed outside. And they've recently been refurbished, as in the softs. So we've changed the linens, we've added in things like desks and wardrobes. So just really elevating the in-room experience. 5 doubles and 2 twins. But as I said, the tents are enormous, so you can easily add in a rollaway bed here if you have an extra guest. Little Naibor then, these are our family tents. So 2 double tented suites, and you can see the lounge space in between. We have a double and a twin here, but if you do have, say, 2 couples traveling together, these twin beds can be converted into a double. What is good to note about all the showers across all of the tents at Naibor are bucket showers. So whilst that is a little bit daunting to some guests, I can guarantee you that you get lots of hot water here. I have tried to outstay a safari shower and I haven't been able to. So you can reassure your guests that there is plenty of hot water. And then Naibor Wilderness then, which is our camp within a camp. It's about a 10-minute walk away from the main camp itself. This Naibor Wilderness was refurbished last year, and it's a really beautiful offering. Originally, it was kind of our bush camp, but since the increase in the park fees, we wanted to give guests the option of a premium luxury offering, but really good value. So this consists of three double tents, your mess tent, and you're privately hosted here also. But of course, you can enjoy the main camp facilities and go to have dinner in the main camp or go meet other guests around the fire. That's absolutely fine. We get a lot of exclusive use bookings here. We get private guides using this tent. But again, as I said, you can book it on an individual basis as well. And then just some additional things that are new to Naibor. This year, we've added in a fitness tent also, which has been really popular with our guests. And so, being in the reserve, main activities are game drives. So, game drives are shared as standard. You can, of course, upgrade to a private vehicle. And if you are booking Little Naibor, you can also you automatically get a private vehicle with Little Naibor. Like most safari days, we are out at 6 a.m., bush breakfast out in the bush, and then we can tailor that then to your guest preference. And we often get guests who want, particularly during the migration, who want to spend the day down at the river, so they can take out a full day's packed lunch. So we can tailor that to guest needs. And then just to kind of touch on the migration and I suppose changes in the park and the reserve, we're really pleased to report that we have seen a significant decrease in vehicles around Naibor. Where Naibor is located itself, it's in a really beautiful part of the reserve, very vast, very open, and there are not many camps around us. So we have seen a big difference. Not only have the park fees increased, but the management of the park has also improved. So you can no longer have minibuses in the reserve. You must be in a 4x4 vehicle, and also the gate times. The first guests can come into or vehicles that can come into the reserve is at 6 a.m. But they must be out by 6 p.m. So that means that during the afternoon, you virtually see no other vehicles around. So you've really private, wildlife experiences. Sundowners are absolutely beautiful. And being in our location, we, particularly during the migration, we can be at those crossing points before the crowds get there also. And as I said, being in the reserve and in this location, we know some of the quieter crossing points as well. So particularly for guests who want to see the migration, we are a really excellent camp for that. So moving then to Offbeat Maracamp and Offbeat Ndoto. These are actually new properties for us. They joined our portfolio in September of this year, and my colleague and I were lucky enough to go out and see the properties in September. And it was really interesting to us, particularly as we had combined them with visiting Naibor, how these properties do actually work really well together, as the Mara North Conservancy was very different to the reserve and they worked really well as a twin centre. And so the properties are Offbeat Maracamp, which consists of 5 tents and then 2 family tents, and then Offbeat Ndoto, which is 4 standard tents and then 1 family tent. So I'll focus a bit more on Ndoto for the focus of this presentation. But just to kind of talk a little bit about the Conservancy first. And the activities you can do as they're both the same across both camps. The Mara North Conservancy is a 74,000-acre conservancy. There are only 12 lodges or camps in the conservancy, so very kind of private and well-managed conservancy, very strict in terms of vehicles per sighting. You only can have 5. And where Offbeat is located itself, it's in a very beautiful valley in the southern part of the Conservancy. So a really kind of serene location. And we found the difference between the landscape of the reserve and Mara North quite striking. The reserve is very vast, very open, but when you come into the Conservancy, the landscape changes. You have more rolling hills and kind of riverine woodlands. So that contrast is really beautiful. You have some more flexibility with activities being in the Conservancy. So we can do game drives morning, afternoon, and night. Um, all of our guides are silver qualified guides. And the wildlife unit in the Conservancy really was phenomenal. I just added in these videos from our experience in September, which was absolutely amazing. Amazing predator sightings. And yeah, I think the videos speak for themselves. But the everything from the guiding to the wildlife was just exceptional. Um, so moving on then to some of the other activities we can do. Oh yeah, and just to also add, some of our vehicles have also been adapted for photographers. But walking is possible in the Conservancy. You can organise that with your guide, and they will arrange for a ranger to meet you and do your walk. Running with the Masai is a really popular activity with guests. Unfortunately, we forgot our running gear, but we did see people do it when we were there. Um, and fishing is also possible. This is actually a really fun experience. It just actually added in a little bit of variety to our afternoon game drive. So we left camp a bit earlier, did some fishing, and then headed off on our afternoon game drive and had our sundowner. And of course, we can also organise hot air balloon safaris in the reserve. You will have to pay those additional park fees to go back into the reserve, but that can all be pre-arranged or arranged at camp also. And of course, beautiful sundowner and bush breakfast locations. So those activities are the same across both Mara Camp and Ndoto. So to look at Mara Camp is again a very traditional tented camp. It consists of 7 tents. Um, this is our main mess and lounge area. We also have a bar here, and our campfire is very close by to here also. This is one of the standard tents. Very traditional design, and the showers here are also a bucket shower. And then moving on to the family tent, um, we have two double tented suites again, a double and a twin. Um, and just to note that game drives here are shared, but you do get a private vehicle for 4 packs or more. So really great for families at Mara Camp. And then Offbeat and Ndoto is very similar in design to Mara Camp. It is just that bit more elevated in terms of the interiors. So it is a 5 tents in total, 4 standard tents, and then the one family luxury suite. So this is our mess tent, very close to our campfire again. And our standard tents are a really beautiful design. Here we have running water in the showers. And again, another key USP about Ndoto is that each tent has its own private vehicle. So all the tents are slightly elevated, so you have a beautiful view out over the reserve. And then luxury family suite, this is a really amazing option for families or if you have couples traveling together. You can see here you have 2 bedrooms and then a lounge. But this experience can almost be completely private. We can arrange dinner and lunch setups at this tent. We can even bring your afternoon tea to the tent. And having a private vehicle, this tent alone has its own entrance. Um, so your guide can collect you right from your tent in the morning, so guests don't have to walk down to the main mess. So yeah, it's almost can be completely exclusive for guests who want that privacy. And then just to touch a little bit on the food, when we were there, we stayed at Ndoto, but we did have lunch at Mara Camp, and I can say that the food was fantastic across both camps, very light and fresh, very delicious. And you can see here our vegetable garden. This is at Mara Camp, but it does also provide for Ndoto also. And then moving up to Lewa Wilderness in Laikipia. Um, Anytime I speak about Kenya, I always talk about Laikipia because I think it is an amazing place. And there's so much to do here, and it's a real contrast in experience compared to the Mara. So it makes for a really well-rounded Kenya itinerary. So just in terms of logistics to Lewa Wilderness specifically, from the Mara North or any Mara airstrip, you can fly back to Wilson Airport. That flight is 45 minutes and then connect then to from Wilson to Lewa Downs, which is another hour's flight. However, there is the option then to fly direct from the Mara to Lewa Downs with Scenic Wilderness. So Scenic Wilderness, they offer a shared charter option between Mara and Lewa, and indeed any other area in Kenya also. So it's a really valuable option that avoids having to route back through Nairobi, and a really comfortable airline as well. And so I will send out some additional information about that charter also. But just to kind of look at Laikipia and the different experience you can have here. So for those of you who don't know, Laikipia is on the map. Whilst it is central Kenya, it is referred to as northern Kenya in the safari circuit. And Laikipia is made up of different conservancies. So here the experience is all about getting out of the vehicle. And you'll see this as the presentation goes on, the different activities we offer at Lewa Wilderness, such as horse riding and walking and scenic flights. So really so much to do here. Um, and the Lewa Wildlife Conservancy itself is a 64,000 acre conservancy, and there's only 5 lodges on the conservancy. So the experience is very, very private. Very strict rules in terms of vehicles per sighting. You can only have 3 vehicles. And it is a big five conservancy and renowned for its rhino conservation. So I always say to agents, if you have guests that want to see big five and want to see rhino, you're guaranteed to see them in Lewa. So our closest airstrip is Lewa Downs, but we do have a private airstrip on the lodge, which is used for those who may be chartering or for our scenic flights activities also. So Lewa Wilderness is one of the original lodges on the reserve. It is the family home of the Craig family, and this is the main lodge. To this day, Will and Emma Craig still live here, so it is very likely that your guests will see them when they're here. And for that reason, Lewa has very much a home from home vibe for guests here. And it really is a beautiful atmosphere. So this is our dining room, a really stunning location. Our our dinner and meals, they are communal, but we can, of course, do private dining setups if guests wish. On the lodge itself, we have our pool and also a gym and tennis courts. So whilst there's so much to do in the conservancies, there's lots of lovely spaces around the lodge for guests to enjoy and kind of take in the beautiful surrounds. In terms of accommodation, we have 12 cottages in total, or 9 cottages in total, 12 rooms. So our garden cottages, we have 3 2-bedroom garden cottages, and these are closest to the main area. So great for families and multi-generational trips. They're absolutely enormous. So we have different configurations in the bedrooms. Some are triple, some are king and a twin. So I will send out a floor plan of those configurations, and you can then see what suits your guests best. But particularly as well for people with mobility issues, they're quite close to the main area and very easily accessed, and very safe as well for younger children. The hillside cottages, as the name suggests, are dotted along the hillside. So really phenomenal views looking out over the valley and beyond from these cottages. Again, different configurations. Some are double, some are twin. So I will send you out that floor plan. But all of the cottages have a fireplace and a small lounge space, and just a really beautiful traditional design. And then new to Lewa Wilderness last July is our exclusive use private wilderness. So Lewa Wilderness is a wonderful place for families, and we often have multi-generational groups come through. So this is our exclusive use space for those groups. So it's again quite similar in design to the original lodge, just a little bit more elevated and stylish in terms of the interiors. Here you have your private pool and you have five individual cottages. So we'll accommodate a maximum of 10 guests. And we do also have an additional cottage if you have a group traveling with a private guide. Um, all cottages are exactly the same, so they can be double or twin configuration. Um, Bathtubs and beautiful ensuite bathrooms, all in those cottages also. So then just touching on the activities that you can do at Lewa Wilderness. As I said, we are renowned for our rhino conservation, and there's 273 rhino across the Lewa and Barana landscape. So your guests will absolutely see rhino when they're with us. We are also home to the Grevy's zebra, so which is just another little fun fact because they're really, I really love them. But in terms of activities, horse riding is available. So we have stables at the lodge. Um, we can do all levels of experience. So beginners can go out around the plains, get really close to zebra, giraffe, impala. And then for those who are more experienced, they can go out for a full day ride and get closer to that big game. Um, it's a wonderful place for horse safaris. We can also do camel safaris. Often what we do is that if you have particularly inexperienced riders, you can go out for a ride in the morning. You'll have a surprise bush breakfast waiting for you, and then you can get the camels back to camp. So yeah, lots of different ways we can make that special. Walking safaris again on the reserve or on the Conservancy. And we can, of course, do game drives morning, afternoon, and night. Fly camping is also an option. So this is an additional $190 per person on top of your room night. But it's a wonderful way for guests to spend a night under the stars and in the bush. Your tent is everything you need, but nothing more. But you can have a game drive out to the camp. You can have your sundowners and meal out there. And if you're an experienced rider, you can also ride out to your fly camp and spend the night. Another thing that I always tell guests or agents about Lewa Wilderness is their shamba and their workshop. So the shamba is an amazing part of Lewa Wilderness. It provides so much produce for the lodge. We've recently rebuilt our Shamba kitchen so we can do these amazing farm to fork lunches no matter the weather. So it's a really delicious 8 course tasting menu. It's everything that the gardeners and the chef have picked that morning. And it's an additional $70 per person, but it is absolutely worth it. You can also have a tour of the Shamba. You can see where their tilapia pond is, how they make their goat's milk. You can also see the carpentry workshop, which provides all the furniture for the lodge and for the new private wilderness. So it really is a fantastic part and integral part of Lewa Wilderness. We do also encourage guests to go down to the Conservancy headquarters and meet the team and take a tour of the Conservancy headquarters and see how their trip is contributing to the Conservancy. So those behind the scenes activities can be booked at the lodge or they can be booked ahead of time. And of course, wonderful sundowners at Lewa also. And then finally, we are finishing up in Zanzibar on Panjay Beach at Zanzibar White Sand Villas and Spa. Um, so in terms of access from Laikipia and from Lewa specifically, from Lewa Downs, you fly back to Nairobi and then connect to Zanzibar from Wilson via Safari Link. You can also connect from the international airport. There's just a couple of more options with Kenya Airways or Precision Air. And then from Zanzibar, it is a from the airport, sorry, it is a 1 hour road transfer to White Sand Villas. So White Sand Villas is a beautiful boutique uh, resort on Paje Beach. So it's a family resort or family-owned run resort, and it is a Relais and Chateau accredited. And we also received our Michelin key this year also. And the whole vibe of Zanzibar White Sands is very much about space, privacy, and mindful luxury. Beautiful location on Paje Beach. What I love is when the tide goes out, you're left with these amazing turquoise colored lagoons right in front of the property. Super safe for swimming and for families and children. And of course, it is an amazing kite surfing location. So in terms of accommodation, we are 18 villas in total. Our beachfront villas, these are our premium villas. Really beautiful location just along the beachfront. We have 5 of these in total. You can see here our where the bedroom is. We also have our rooftop terrace and then your lounge next door. So this just gives you an idea of the interiors. The interiors are very similar across all of the villas, but so much space. Um, and of course, all of the amenities you would expect from a 5-star resort. The 2 bedroom family villa is very similar to the beach villa. You said you just have 2 bedrooms. It is good to note that these rooms are not interconnecting. So if you do have a family with younger children who want to be close to mum and dad, it may be worth looking at the 1 bedroom beach villa and adding in a rollaway bed. We also then have our 5 bedroom garden villa. So this is a wonderful option for bigger multi-generational groups. Um, this villa has 5 bedrooms. One of those is a twin and it can be interleading. You also have a private pool and a hot tub with this villa. And then our latest addition to White Sand is our garden villas. There are 7 of these. They're a wonderful option. You have your bedroom and a small lounge space, and then they could come with either a hot tub or a plunge pool. But a really beautiful option. They're run 100% on solar, and the resort itself is looking to be 100% on solar by 2026. We do also have our cinnamon rooms. So these are a more compact option for guests. These would be our entry-level option. You have a double, quadruple, and a family room. But again, still a really beautiful design and everything you need. As I said, we are a Relais and Chateau property, so the food at White Sand is absolutely amazing. And of course, being on Zanzibar, the seafood options as well are absolutely delightful. But our beach restaurant, this was refurbished in 2024, so it's a really beautiful space, mainly used for breakfast and lunch. And we do also have our Doors to Zanzibar restaurant, which is our evening restaurant, um, which is in the main space. We have 3 bars, so this is our lounge bar. We also have our rooftop bar and then our beach bar, which is beside our water sports centre. So that brings me on then to the activities on White Sand. So we do our water sports centre where guests can use our kayaks, paddles free of charge. We also have a number of activities available for guests throughout their stay, and there'll be a different list of activities available each day for guests, such as a movie night or Swahili and culture lesson. We have our tennis and paddle courts also. And as I said, this part of Paje Beach is a kite surfing paradise. So we do have a kite surfing instructor on site. There are taster sessions available free of charge, depending on the day. And then guests then have the option to decide if they want to continue. New to us is our new fitness space. So we've always had a fitness centre, but we've just renovated it and we've added in new techno gym equipment, air conditioning. So again, another option for activities. And we have our Senses Spa also. And then additional activities around Zanzibar that you can organize ahead of time or even from the resort. We always recommend a day visit to Stone Town, and we can arrange that and your guide. The Rock Restaurant can be arranged, and Jozani Forest, which is only 10 minutes away. And then here you also have Maloom Cave, which is a bit of a hidden gem. It's only 3 minutes away from Zanzibar White Sand, and it is essentially a freshwater swimming space. It's really cool. As I said, many people don't know about it, and it can be completely private as well. We can arrange for that. So it just gives you some of the options that you can do around Zanzibar and Paje itself. Cycling tours and excursions and guided tours around Paje Beach can also be arranged from the resort. Um, so then very quickly, just to look at some of the special offers that we have for 2026, I will send this out in the follow-up just so you have them. House of Waine offer a really great day rate. So this does not include the room, but it does provide a three-course meal, a welcome drink, and use of the pool and the hotel facilities. There are also changing facilities at the hotel. So again, it just gives guests an option to, if they have a long layover in Nairobi, they can come out to the hotel and freshen up, have a meal, and then if they want to do stuff around Nairobi or Karen, we can help arrange with that also. Naibor have a stay for pay, or sorry, typo there, but stay for pay three throughout the regular season, and also stay three, pay two from March to May. Offbeat have a number of special offers throughout 2026. So that includes a family discount, a honeymoon special, a single traveler rate, and a stay for pay three. Lewa Wilderness also have their honeymoon special and a stay for pay three. And then White Sand have their long stay discount for 5 nights plus. They get 10% off each night, and a honeymoon special of a welcome gift, bottle of wine, and a 1 hour massage per person. I will send out all of our contact details in the newsletter also, just so you can reach out if you do have any further questions. So do keep an eye out for the follow-up newsletter as well with all the rates, fact sheets and images. So yes, I think that is it. Thank you all again for joining me. And yes, this is our final webinar of 2025. So our next one will be next year. So thank you all again and enjoy the rest of your day.